Morning, all. It is time for the preview. We got a busy night tonight in the National Hockey League, including, I believe it's 5 games starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And then it's going to be a pretty crazy night, same as Tuesday. The latest the game starts tonight is 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. So let's jump into this with Detroit and Buffalo. Yeah, it starts with Detroit and Buffalo. Detroit's 12, 38, and 4. And it's been a bad time for Detroit unless you're hoping for them to finish 31st, in which case it's been great. Their most recent loss was against Philadelphia, 3-0. Prior to that, 1-0 against the Rangers, so they've got a nice shutout streak going, just the wrong way. Prior to that, they lost to the Rangers 4-2. Before that, they lost to Minnesota 4-2, and they lost to Colorado 6-3 before that. So their defense is getting better, right? So there's that. There's no offense, but the defense is getting better. On the Buffalo side, they're 23, 23, and 7, and the infighting has got to be going on because when it's coming out publicly that teammates aren't happy with the way things are going, they're saying we've got to pick it up in the locker room. That means that likely they're not happy with one another either. Their most recent loss was that 6-1 loss to these guys, Colorado Avalanche, and prior to that, they beat Columbus 2-1. Before that, they lost to Montreal 3-1. They lost to Ottawa 5-2. They lost to Nashville 2-1. So it has been a long, pretty arduous trip for them so far, and it's not going to get any easier. These teams met October 25th. Buffalo shut out Detroit 2-0. So a lot of times Detroit gets shut out, isn't it? Then January 12th, Buffalo beat Detroit 5-1. The last time these teams meet each other will be February 11th. That game will be at Buffalo. So Buffalo's got 2 games against Detroit. If they win both of them, still not likely to make the playoffs, and it probably won't surprise Detroit if they lose both of them either. Again, stuck at 28 points for what seems like forever in Detroit, and we'll see whether or not they can get a point tonight because they haven't had a point in a while. Notables for Detroit: Darren Helm, 6 goals, 6 assists. Is he going to be on the move? Is this going to be a player that Yzerman looks to move during the summer? Is he going to look to move him around deadline? Bowie, 3 goals, 11 assists. Has his trade value increased with the fact that he's been better since he came back from the American League? At least the offense has been better, relatively, when you look at the team's relative offense. And Larkin, 13 goals, 24 assists, 37 points. Jimmy Howard, 884 save percentage, 0 shutouts. Bernier, 908 save percentage, and 1 shutout. So it's been a rough season for Detroit in many, many ways. On the Buffalo side, Reinhart, 19 goals, 25 assists, 44 points. And clearly unhappy with the way things are going right now. We will see how that affects his future in Buffalo. Ristolainen, also an unhappy player. 5 goals, 19 assists, 24 points. There have been rumors going back to forever, it seems, with Ristolainen, whether or not he'll stay in Buffalo. Maybe with his current state of mind and with what he said to the press, maybe it makes it easier for Botterill to move him. And Evan Rodriguez, who has actually asked for a trade, 3 goals, 3 assists for him. I think he'd be a solid pickup for somebody. You're going to be buying low on him, and I think he's a useful third-line forward. And yes, I do think he belongs in the third. I don't think he's a fourth line. I think he belongs in the third. Johansson, 929 save percentage, 0 shutouts. Olmark, 914 save percentage and 1 shutout. It's worth noting, Johansson, that's only in 1 game. And Hutton, 891 save percentage, 2 shutouts. Everything about Buffalo has to start getting better. It has to, right? Can't get worse, right? Anaheim in against the Montreal Canadiens. So here's another matchup between 2 teams that may very well not make the playoffs. It is hard to envision Anaheim getting back into it, and it is hard to envision Montreal getting into it, as we've just heard this morning that Shea Weber's on the IR. And Tatar may not play tonight either, so it's going to be tricky. Trying to put together a team that's going to win some games, although you look and you say, well, Anaheim, that should be winnable, but Anaheim has won 3 out of their last 4, starting with a game I watched in Anaheim. So I'm not going to take credit for it, unless I want to. 22, 26, and 5 is the current record for the Anaheim Ducks. They most recently beat Ottawa 3-2. They beat LA 3-1. A couple of powerhouses there. And before that, they lost to Tampa Bay 4-3, which was preceded by a victory over Arizona 4-2. And prior to that, a 4-2 loss against the San Jose Sharks. The Montreal Canadiens, who are 25, 23, and 7 overall, They've won 3 of their last 5 as well. They beat New Jersey 5-4 in a shootout, of course, where Kovalchuk decided to stick it to the New Jersey Devils for not the first time. Prior to that, they lost to Columbus 4-3. They beat Florida 4-1. They beat Buffalo 3-1, and they lost to Washington 4-2. This is their first meeting. Their next meeting will be March 16th in Anaheim, at which point I will be in Vegas. Thought that when I was doing it before, so I'll be in Vegas next time these teams meet each other. Cool. Rowney, a notable for Anaheim, 6 goals, 5 assists. I like Carter Rowney. I just do. And I have all season, and then after watching the game in Anaheim, I'm like, yep, I really like his game. Good player. Kasha, 7 goals, 15 assists. Sam Steele, 4 goals, 14 assists for him. And I'm waiting on Kasha and Steele to really take that step to that next level. And watch if you're Kasha taking that next step, because you'll likely twist your ankle. Miller, .912 save percentage, no shutouts for him. Gibson, .905 save percentage and 1 shutout on the Montreal front. Domi, 13 goals, 23 assists. He replaced Weber on this board. I did these boards up last night. I had Weber up there, and then Weber's on the IR, so I'll put Domi up there. Is Domi going to get things going offensively? Weiss, 14 games, 1 goal, 3 assists for him. He's been pretty solid. He's increased his trade value, I think, a little bit with how he's played for Montreal so far. Petrie, 7 goals, 26 assists, 33 points. I think they're happy with Petrie. I don't think he goes anywhere. But I thought, put him on the board anyways. I haven't had Petrie on the board in a while. Carey Price, .911 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Lindgren, .880 save percentage, and no shutouts for him. He just has that 1 shootout victory. And yeah, I've always liked Lindgren, but this year the numbers just don't back it up. Just don't. So, yeah, for this game tonight, Montreal should win it. That being said, Anaheim has won a few games, and maybe they're trying to make themselves relevant again before the deadline. It's tricky, though, because they're pretty far out. All right, moving along. Pittsburgh and against Tampa. This is a monster matchup. This is a matchup between 2 teams who have the same number of points. The only difference is there's 1 more regulation loss for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And both teams have won 4 of their last 5. Tampa's won 4 in a row. Pittsburgh's won 2 in a row. Now, on the Pittsburgh side, Pittsburgh's 33-14-5 overall. So, pretty excellent record for them. 71 points again, same number of points as Tampa. Their most recent win was a huge win over Washington, 4-3. They beat Philadelphia 4-3. That was after losing against Philadelphia 3-0. Prior to that, they beat Boston 4-3, and they beat Detroit 2-1. On the Tampa side, where they're 33-15-5, so pretty excellent record there as well. They beat Vegas 4-2. They beat San Jose 3-0. They beat Anaheim 4-3. Beat Dallas 4-2, or beat LA 4-2, and lost to Dallas 3-2. So overall, the records are pretty good. The last time these teams met was October 23rd. Tampa Bay won that one 3-2. The next and final meeting between these teams will be February 11th at Pittsburgh. So there are a number of teams meeting today that apparently will meet again on February 11th. That being said, I like Tampa Bay's chances because they're at home. That's as far as I can go towards making any kind of prediction in this. Marino stands out to me as a Penguin that we haven't talked about lately. So 4 goals, 20 assists for him, 24 points. That's a pretty good rookie season already. McCann, 14 goals, 16 assists. Teddy Bluger, 7 goals and 11 assists for one of the most fun names to say in the NHL. Murray has a .900 save percentage now with 1 shutout. Jari has a .928 save percentage and 3 shutouts. So Murray's numbers have gotten better. Keep in mind that it's been a slow climb for him, but he has been in some important games lately, and he's managed to come through with victories. So regardless of other numbers, if your goalie's winning, something's being done right. On the Tampa Bay side, Killorn, 21 goals, 20 assists, continues his fantastic season. Gord, 6 goals, 13 assists for 19 points. Still waiting on more offense from Yanni Gord, and I wonder if he might be an expendable forward for Tampa. They can find somebody, because again, it seems like every year Tampa has to make cap room for something, so maybe they find a taker for Gord. And Anthony Cirelli, 13 goals, 25 assists, 38 points. Just fantastic season for him as well. McElhinney has a .909 save percentage with 1 shutout. Vasilevsky has a .917 save percentage and 2 shutouts for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So overall, things are going pretty well for Tampa Bay. That being said, they're going pretty well for Pittsburgh as well. And this for me is likely going to be the game of the night. This is the one I'm going to be paying the most attention to, I would think, unless it's really lopsided early, in which case I take that attention and place it elsewhere. But it's likely going to be the game of the night, I would think. I'd be surprised if it's not. Moving along, Vegas, the Vegas Golden Knights in against Florida tonight. And again, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And for Vegas, 27, 21, and 7. They've lost 3 of their last 5. And, at a time where the Pacific Division is vulnerable, somebody has to take this division and really make it theirs. And Vegas is in a position where they could, and they haven't been able to do it consistently. The Florida Panthers, on the other hand, have a chance to really solidify their third place in the division, with Toronto having lost last night. Now, over their last 5, the 27, 21, and 7 Vegas Golden Knights lost most recently to Tampa 4-2. Before that, they beat Nashville 3-0, and they beat Carolina 4-3. They lost to Boston 3-2, and they lost to Montreal 5-4. So it's been an up and down situation for them over the last couple of weeks at the very least. The Florida Panthers 29, 17, and 6. They most recently lost to Columbus in an amazing 1-0 loss. Beat Toronto 5-3, lost to Montreal 4-0, beat Chicago 4-3, and beat Minnesota 5-4. So these guys have been involved in some pretty interesting games over the last 5. I expect this one to be interesting as well. Both teams know how to score. We'll see how that goes for them. This is their first meeting. Their next meeting will be February 22nd in Vegas. And, of course, their final meeting because it's interconference. Not leading scorers. Notable scorers, Stevenson on the season has 10 goals and 8 assists. And he's been very useful since getting to the Vegas franchise. Stastny, 16 goals, 12 assists, 28 points. Overall, you'd want more out of Stastny than what he's provided so far. But he's provided some key goals. He's been a useful forward for the most part. Nate Schmidt, 5 goals, 17 assists, 22 points. He's overshadowed now by Theodore. I think Theodore's their best blue liner, but Schmidt's still pretty good. Marc-Andre Fleury, 907 save percentage with 3 shutouts. Subban, 897 save percentage, no shutouts for him. On the Florida side, Stralman, 4 goals, 13 assists, 17 points. He's come a long way since, as a rookie, not necessarily getting a lot of attention with Toronto, and now he's a pretty good veteran defenseman. Connolly, 16 goals, 13 assists, 29 points. I don't recall putting his name down with goals recently, but he's capable of heating up. And Hoffman, 19 goals, 23 assists, 42 points. We'll see if he's still a member of the Panthers by the time this video uploads, because there are lots of rumors that he's going to get moved. Montembeault, 888 save percentage, 0 shutouts. Drieger, 932 save percentage, 1 shutout. And Bobrovsky now has a 901 save percentage with 1 shutout. Yes, his save percentage is finally above 900 against Vegas. We'll see if he can get it higher than that. If he's a starter, I didn't look at the projected starters yet because we got to get this preview up and all that. So, because if I start going down that road, then I start looking at other things, and then before you know it, I'm like, oh, it's 20 minutes later already. Bobrovsky against Fleury, that's a fantastic matchup. I would imagine that's what we're going to see. That being said, I need to change boards. All right, next up, we've got the LA Kings in against the New York Islanders. In LA, it's been quite the season for the Kings. And for the Islanders, maybe they're starting to turn it around. They've won 2 out of 3. Or they've lost 3 out of 5. Depends how you see it. Cup half full, cup half empty. So the LA Kings now are 19-30-5. It's really falling off. They, of course, traded away Campbell. They traded away Clifford. Now, Clifford is an important 3rd/4th line forward, but somebody you can replace. And not only that, but I think bringing up Cal Peterson, it's about time. Welcome back to the NHL, Cal. Welcome to SoCal, Cal, I guess. There you go. Washington beat them 4-2. The Anaheim Ducks beat them 3-1. Prior to that, they beat Arizona 3-2. That was after they'd lost to Tampa Bay 4-2 and lost to Philadelphia 4-1. It's been a long season. The Islanders, their most recent game was a 4-3 overtime victory over Dallas. They lost against Vancouver, also in overtime, 4-3. They beat the Rangers 4-2. They lost to Carolina 2-1 and lost to Washington 6-4. So again, it's been kind of an up and down time for the Islanders. We'll see if they can turn it around. The good news is it's LA. The bad news is November 27th, LA beat them 4-1. So they have to be very careful, take this very seriously, or it can turn into a trap game. Iafallo is notable for the LA Kings, 14 goals, 17 assists. He's not getting moved or anything, but he is capable of hitting at least 20 goals this year. Martinez, still a member of the Kings at the time I'm recording this, 1 goal, 7 assists. Carter, 16 goals, 9 assists, 25 points. Keep in mind, if any rumors surface that Jeff Carter might get traded, last year when those rumors came out, word is he threatened to just retire. That was something he could just say, you know what, if they trade me, I'll just retire. I don't want to play anywhere other than LA. Jonathan Quick, .895 save percentage, 0 shutouts. And Peterson, of course, hasn't played yet. On the New York Islanders side of things, Brassard, 9 goals, 16 assists, 25 points. He did get off the snide in that game against Dallas. We'll see whether or not he can get things going again tonight against the Kings. Beauvilliers, 15 goals, 17 assists. I believe he had 2 goals in their last game. 32 points for him overall. Michael Del Cole, 3 goals and 6 assists. Maybe the offense doesn't arrive with Del Cole, but, they've got Kiefer Bellows up as well. I believe he's still up, and we'll see whether or not that helps. But again, I don't think Bellows was going to be the answer necessarily. Something really needed to be changed, though. Goaltenders, Greiss, .922 save percentage, 0 shutouts. Varlamov, .915 save percentage, and 2 shutouts for him on the season. And this is one that the Islanders need to win. Because, again, they've got those games in hand, but you've got to start winning games. So that's the trick of it, is it's not just a matter of having games in hand. You've got to be winning those games, or you're going to find yourself in some playoff peril, which, again, is because they're in the East, and there's going to be at least 2 teams in the East that are pretty good that are going to miss. New Jersey, and against the Philadelphia Flyers, the New Jersey Devils and Philadelphia Flyers playing at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. There are 6 games starting at that time, 1 starting a half an hour later, and then a few of them starting a half an hour after that. So it gets busy for me tonight. The New Jersey Devils, 18, 24, and 10 overall. They have lost 4 out of 5. They lost to Montreal 5-4. They lost to Dallas 3-2. They lost to Nashville 6-5. They beat Ottawa 4-3, so there's that. And they lost to Columbus 5-0. So it's been a bit of a crash again for the New Jersey Devils. Unfortunately, that's not really news, and we'll see whether or not they can win against a Philadelphia team that's won 4 out of 5. Philadelphia is 29-17-7. They beat Detroit 3-0. They beat Colorado 6-3. They lost to Pittsburgh 4-3. They beat Pittsburgh 3-0, and they beat LA 4-1. So, a decent run that the Philadelphia Flyers have been on. They did play against the New Jersey Devils on October 9th and beat them 4-0 in Philly. They went to New Jersey on November 1st and won in a shootout 4-3. And their next meeting will be March 28th in New Jersey. So for the New Jersey Devils, if they want to even up this season series, because they did lose 1 in a shootout, so technically they're 0-1-1 right now against Philly, they have to win tonight in Philadelphia, which is no easy feat. Philadelphia is pretty darn good at home. Coleman, 19 goals, 10 assists for New Jersey. Still, great season for him. Jack Hughes, 6 goals, 12 assists. Not likely to win the Calder at this stage, but not every great player does as a rookie, so it doesn't necessarily mean he's a bust. There will be people who call him that, though. Gusev, 9 goals, 22 assists, 31 points. In net, Blackwood's got a .904 save percentage with a shutout, and Louis Domingue, .886 save percentage, 0 shutouts. On the Philadelphia front, Sanheim, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. Been a solid defender for them. Hayes, 17 goals, 15 assists, 32 points. So here's the thing with Hayes. He's a 25 goal scorer this year. Is he good? Yes. Does that justify his contract? Probably not. But, he hasn't been a disaster, and he's been able to produce shorthanded as well. Farabee, 7 goals, 11 assists, 18 points. The offense has been there over the last few weeks, and it looks like he's really grown as a player, and he's a keeper. Lyon, .901 save percentage with 0 shutouts. Elliott, .903 save percentage and 2 shutouts. And Hart, .905 save percentage with 1 shutout. The question mark with them is how long can they stay afloat without Hart and net? And I think it should be okay, considering that the numbers between Elliott and Hart have been similar. And again, it's a matter of young guys like Farabee stepping up and showing that they belong in the NHL and deserve those top 6 minutes. So if Giroux could step up as well, that'd be awesome. But the fact that they're in the position they are and Claude Giroux isn't putting up the kind of numbers one might expect, that's to their benefit. All right, moving along. Colorado, these guys, they will be in against Ottawa. The Avs playing pretty darn well lately, to be honest. Now, you can point out who their opponents have been in 3 out of those 4 wins and say, well, they're not great opponents, but they've won those games. They're in against Ottawa, who've lost 4 out of 5. Now, Colorado, 29-16-6. Their most recent win was, of course, the explosive 6-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. They lost to Philadelphia 6-3. They beat Detroit 6-3. Beat St. Louis 5-3 and beat San Jose 4-0. So Colorado doing what they have to do in order to make up some ground on St. Louis. The problem is St. Louis is not really playing along very nicely about it. Although St. Louis has only won 2 of their last 5. So we'll see if Colorado can make the race for first in that division more interesting. On the Ottawa front, 18-24-11. They lost to Anaheim 3-2. They lost to Toronto 2-1. They lost to Washington 5-3. They beat Buffalo 5-2. And they lost to New Jersey 4-3. That 11, they're trying to reach the overtime loss mark of the Boston Bruins. And if Hogberg's in net, they'll get it. Because Hogberg, you just start in overtime. Nichushkin stands out for Colorado with 9 goals, 12 assists, 21 points. Modest totals, but compared to last year, that's excellent. Donskoy, 14 goals, 16 assists. Landeskog, 13 goals, 10 assists, 23 points. They could use a bit of a run from Landeskog here. Grubauer, 909 save percentage with 1 shutout. Francouz, 924 save percentage, 0 shutouts. Since this is Ottawa, I could see Francouz being in here. Tkachuk, 15 goals, 14 assists, 29 points. Not putting up the points like his brother Matt, but it's still early in his career, and he doesn't really have the offensive line mates you think he's going to have probably starting next year. White, 5 goals, 10 assists. Some concerns about his season this year. I'm kind of in the mind of if it's an Ottawa player, we'll see what they are next year. Anisimov, 10 goals, 3 assists. In net, Hogberg, 912 save percentage, no shutouts. Anderson, 901 save percentage, no shutouts. It's hard to get shutouts behind that defense, which it's Ottawa. So it's Ottawa. For Colorado, this is one of those you really kind of need to win this kind of games. And for Ottawa, again, they're just looking forward to the draft. They kind of have been all year. And again, I kind of feel bad for Ottawa, but at the same time, rebuilds happen this way. And not only that, but they're still way better than Detroit. Way better than Detroit. They got 47 points. Detroit's got 28, so they're way better. I don't know that it's a matter of Ottawa being better than we expected as much as just Detroit's just miserable this year. Just absolutely miserable. All right, next up, Winnipeg in against St. Louis. Okay, so the Jets. They've won 1 out of their last 5. Not great. That one was against St. Louis. Excellent. St. Louis is a team that they're chasing. They're chasing a lot of teams. This is a problem. For Winnipeg, they're at 26-23-5. Now is the time they have to turn it around. Winnipeg's a team that I wouldn't be surprised if they make a trade over the next couple of days, to be honest, because something has to give. And since Toronto made their trade last night, maybe that gets the market going. St. Louis is pretty far ahead of them, but again, you got to play the schedule you're given. Most recently, Winnipeg lost to Nashville 2-1. That was after beating St. Louis 5-2. They lost to Boston 2-1. They lost to Columbus 4-3. They lost to Carolina 4-1. So of those 4 losses, 3 of them were by 1 goal. But they've also only scored 1 goal in 3 of their last 5 games. So there are some problems in Winnipeg. On the St. Louis side of things, they're 32-14-8. Their most recent game was a win against Carolina 6-3. Prior to that, they lost to Winnipeg 5-2, lost to Edmonton 4-2, beat Calgary 5-4, and lost to Vancouver 3-1. December 27th, these teams met in Winnipeg. St. Louis won that one in overtime 5-4. December 29th, St. Louis beat Winnipeg 4-1 in St. Louis. And of course, Winnipeg on February 1st beat St. Louis 5-2 in Winnipeg. Now we're back in St. Louis. St. Louis trying to even up the series, win their 2nd out of 4. St. Louis trying to win their 3rd out of 4 and take a rival in Winnipeg and basically take their chances at playoffs and make it look even longer than what it is right now. On the Winnipeg side, Sami Niku stands out because in 12 games he's got 4 points. If he can provide what they need on that blue line, he can be great. But if his defensive deficiencies get to him, that can be just a killer for them. Blake Wheeler, 16 goals, 29 assists, 45 points. Up and down season for him offensively. Nick Ehlers, 18 goals, 23 assists, 41 points. I feel like with all of the Jets slipping, and I've talked a lot about Ehlers and what a great season he was having, it feels like all of them are slipping, and Ehlers is part of that as well. Brossoit, 885 save percentage, no shutouts. Hellebuck, 919 save percentage, and 4 shutouts for him. He's had a very good season. On the St. Louis side of things, Jaden Schwartz, 17 goals, 27 assists, 44 points. Last regular season, not great. Then he had a great playoffs, and this year in the regular season, he's looking more like the Jaden Schwartz we knew from before last season. Bozak, 11 goals, 14 assists, 25 points. And O'Reilly, 10 goals, 38 assists, 48 points for him. Quietly having an excellent season again. Jake Allen, 925 save percentage, 1 shutout. Jordan Binnington, 910 save percentage, also 1 shutout. So for Winnipeg, if you're going to make yourself relevant, you have to stop losing games today. This is where we're at, because Chicago's ahead of them, Nashville's tied with them, and those are teams that are not in the playoffs. So it's just getting worse for Winnipeg so far. We'll see whether or not this game against St. Louis can be the start of a turnaround, as we thought it might be the last time they beat St. Louis, and then they lost to Nashville. But that was in overtime, so they got a point. Problem was that point that Nashville got that was extra tied them with Winnipeg. That being said, I need to change boards. All right, Vancouver in against Minnesota. This one starts at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, same time as the St. Louis-Winnipeg game that you'll be watching tonight. And for Vancouver, a bit of a hiccup, a bit of a speed bump here. So Vancouver, who have been excellent since the end of November, their last 2 games, not the result they wanted, and that game against Boston, really not the result that they wanted. But they're still 30-19-5. They are still first in their division. They were fortunate. Everybody in their division that they needed to see lose lost a couple nights ago. The problem was they won, or they didn't win. So if they'd won and they were 67 points, we'd be, hey, this is pretty good. But anyways, so 30-19-5 overall. Their last game, of course, was a 4-0 loss against Boston. Before that, they lost 4-3 to Carolina. They beat the Islanders 4-3. They beat San Jose 5-2, and they beat St. Louis 3-1. On the Minnesota side of things, they're 24-22-6 overall. They beat Chicago 3-2 in their most recent game. That was a good game for Minnesota, and it keeps them relevant. They have won 3 of their last 5. Before that, they lost to Boston 6-1. They beat Detroit 4-2. They lost to Florida 7-5 or 5-0. I'm ahead 5-4. I'm ahead of myself. They lost to Florida. Breathe in, breathe out. 5-4. And before that, they lost. They beat Dallas 7-0. So I get beat, lost, beat, lost. Anyways, so they've been 1 up, 1 down. They need to be 1 up again. And the good news for them is that Vancouver's on a long road trip, and it's possible Vancouver comes in tonight and has a down game against Minnesota. Vancouver beat Minnesota in Minnesota January 12th, 4-1. Their last meeting of the year will be February 19th in Vancouver. Now, on the Vancouver side of things, Virtanen, 15 goals, 16 assists, 31 points. Last time I put him up on the board, I had Pearson's numbers up there. So Virtanen, there's a lot of Vancouver Canucks he needs to see start producing. I thought about putting Besser up there, and I thought, Besser we've talked about before, but Virtanen, be nice to see him get a goal or 2 tonight. Myers, 6 goals, 11 assists for him on the blue line. Gaudette, 8 goals, 15 assists, 23 points. Be nice to see any of those 3 really pick the team up tonight and have a big game. Markstrom, 917 save percentage with a shutout. Demko, 909 save percentage. No shutouts for him. On the Minnesota side of things, Zucker, 14 goals, 15 assists, 29 points. Dumba, who may very well be getting ready to go on a bit of a run here, 4 goals, 14 assists, 18 points. Finally gets that 4th goal. Now that weight's off of him, we'll see if there's more goals to come. Hartman, 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points. That's around trade deadline, so that's when Hartman gets moved, right? It seems to be the case. Stalock, 904 save percentage with 2 shutouts. Dubnyk, 890 save percentage with 1 shutout. Does Minnesota keep both goaltenders past the deadline? I don't know what's going to happen, but since goaltenders have been the topic of conversation so much, I can't see Dubnyk being moved. I could potentially see Stalock being moved only because we saw the Kakkonen when he came up. He looks ready. So it's one of those Cal Peterson situations where when the number 3 guy that you have looks ready, that could be really important. All right, moving along. Nashville. The Nashville Predators will be in Calgary. This game starts at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. As you see, we have a few games starting a bit later. This still means they're all on at the same time, though, which is obnoxious. Nashville's 25-20-7 overall. They have won 3 out of their last 5. And Calgary, they've lost 4 of their last 5. So these are two teams going in opposite directions, and Calgary needs to reverse that quickly as well. Nashville, to get to 25-20-7, they beat Winnipeg 2-0 or 2-1. That's after losing to Vegas 3-0. They beat New Jersey 6-5, beat Washington 5-4, lost to Toronto 5-2. On the Calgary side of things, they're 27-21-6. They lost to San Jose 3-1 after losing to Edmonton 8-3. After defeating Edmonton 4-3 in a shootout, they lost to St. Louis 5-4 and lost to Ottawa 5-2. So we'll see whether or not the stick flip that Riddick did, we'll see if that becomes a point where we look and go, that's where the season turned in a bad way for Calgary. But for tonight, all they need to do is find that whatever it is that got them into a playoff spot to begin with, because against San Jose, there just didn't seem to be any confidence. And it's going to be tricky because they're still going to be doing it, it would appear, without Giordano for a while. Nashville, Bonino, 16 goals, 14 assists for him. Solid season overall. Arvidsson, 12 goals, 10 assists. I think we'd like to see more from Arvidsson than what we've seen so far this season. Granlund, 11 goals, 8 assists. Goes without saying that the same would be said of Granlund. Rinne, 898 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Saros, also an 898 save percentage, 1 shutout. It's been strange. Their numbers have been tied to each other. When one's bad, the other tends to be as well. When one's good, so is the other. Strange. On the Calgary side of things, Ilan Lucic. Lucic with 4 goals and 7 assists. It's obvious the offense is never coming back with Lucic, isn't it? Lindholm, 22 goals, 18 assists, 40 points. Mangiapane, 10 goals, 8 assists, 18 points. And if you want to point to one Calgary Flame that I think could have more points and goals after the All-Star break than he's had so far, Mangiapane is a guy that I think could get hot for them. Goaltending, Riddick has a .909 save percentage with 2 shutouts. Talbot, .919. No shutouts for him, but Talbot has been the better goaltender. And so for Calgary, no time like the present to get things going. They absolutely have to improve their game. This has been a rough stretch for them. And it really looks like it could get out of control. If Nashville goes into Calgary tonight, and if they beat Calgary, I'll say like 5-1, something like that. Tree Living's got to make a move. He has absolutely got to make a move. You can't sit on that roster and go, they'll figure it out. Can't do it. Next up, Carolina. The Hurricanes in against Arizona. This again starting at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. Carolina 30-20-3. They've won 3 of their last 5, and yet because they're in the East, they're sitting below the playoff line. Arizona 27-21-7. They won 1 game after losing, I think it's 5 in a row. I was only witness to 1. So, anyways, 27-21-7 for the Arizona Coyotes overall. That's not going to get it done. And they need to get a win tonight against Carolina, a team that knows how to score. And Arizona knows how to shut teams down. So we'll see how that works for them. Now, Carolina's coming off of a 6-3 loss against St. Louis. Prior to that, they beat Vancouver 4-3. They lost to Vegas 4-3. They beat Winnipeg 4-1, and they beat the Islanders 2-1. So there is some reason to be optimistic if you're a Carolina fan right now. On the Arizona side of things, they most recently defeated Edmonton 3-0. Big game by Ranta and the boys for that one. They lost to Chicago 3-2, lost to LA 3-2, lost to Anaheim 4-2, and lost to Edmonton 7-3 before that. So they've got a lot of work to do to make up some ground. But they're in a playoff spot right now. They just have to make sure they stop the bleeding. The only other time these teams met each other, January 10th, Carolina won that one 3-0. So whatever Arizona did that night, don't. Dzingel on Carolina has been a healthy scratch of points this year. 8 goals, 20 assists for him. I do think that of the free agents that were signed, that might be one that Carolina wishes they could get a take back on. Niederreiter, 7 goals, 16 assists for him, 23 points. Very prominent when you watch Carolina games, and yet the numbers don't end up equaling how prominent he is during a game. Netschus has 13 goals, 15 assists for 28 points in what's been an understated rookie season. Mrazek, 900 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Reimer, 920 save percentage, 3 shutouts. 6 shutouts for the 2 goalies, and yet We look at Carolina and we say, they're goaltending. It's so weird. On the Arizona front, Keller, 12 goals, 21 assists, 33 points. He's been hot and cold this year as well. Dvorak, 15 goals, 17 assists, 32 points. And Kessel, 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points. Did we expect Kessel to have this few points at this point in the season? Not really. Didn't expect Pittsburgh level points, but this has been really kind of low. Hill, 920 save percentage, no shutouts. Ranta, 917 save percentage and 2 shutouts. And Darcy Kemper, 929 save percentage, also has 2 shutouts. So for Arizona, this is a great test for them to see whether or not that game against Edmonton, it's a one-off, or if they're actually on the verge of turning it around and getting it in gear, because now's a good time. Seriously, we're up to February 6th. We're not at a point where it's like, they'll figure it out. No, if they haven't figured it out by now, they may not. Last up, San Jose in against Edmonton. And San Jose has proven over the last few weeks they like playing spoiler. And for the Oilers, they've won 3 out of 5, but their most recent loss against Arizona, 3-0. We'll see how they're doing. So again, this one starts at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. That's as late as we go tonight. San Jose 23-27-4. Most recent game was that 3-1 victory over Calgary. They lost to Tampa Bay 3-0. Lost to Vancouver 5-2. Beat Anaheim 4-2, and prior to that also lost against Vancouver 4-1. So Vancouver enjoys playing San Jose. San Jose doesn't enjoy playing Vancouver. It's a weird season. On the Edmonton front, they lost to Arizona 3-0. That was after beating Calgary 8-3. So maybe both Edmonton and Calgary had kind of a come down after that huge emotional matchup of the Battle of Alberta. Prior to that, they beat St. Louis 4-2, lost to Calgary 4-3 in a shootout, and beat Arizona 7-3. So it's been a good run for Edmonton, and we'll see whether or not they're able to avoid a trap against San Jose. It really shouldn't be a trap. It's a division rival. November 12th, San Jose did defeat Edmonton 6-3. That was during the really good stretch that San Jose had this year. Edmonton beat them November 19th in the rematch in San Jose 5-2. And their next meeting will be March 27th. That's in Edmonton. So first 2 games are in San Jose, next 2 in Edmonton. We'll see how that works out for them. San Jose's road record, not great, although they did win in Calgary the other night, so we'll see. Evander Kane, 20 goals, 16 assists, 36 points for the San Jose Sharks. Erik Karlsson, 5 goals, 32 assists, 37 points. And Brent Burns, 11 goals, 23 assists, 34 points. It's a lot of money tied up in those 3 players. It will be on them to decide how this season ends up. It will be on them to decide how much pride San Jose takes towards the end of the season. And that's your core going forward. For better or for worse, all 3 of those guys will be back in the fall. And they will be trying to cobble together a team around them that can get back into the playoffs next season. Aaron Dell, 913 save percentage with no shutouts. Why are there all kinds of conversations all of a sudden about how, hey, maybe San Jose's, well, Dell's the unrestricted free agent July 1st. Maybe San Jose moves Dell. Is there somebody coming up that's going to be good? Because Dell's been pretty good. So I don't know why they wouldn't look into an extension with Dell. Jones, 889 save percentage, no shutouts. Jones has been less good. So just throwing that out there. On the Edmonton side of things, Archibald, 7 goals, 6 assists for him for 13 points. Nurse, 4 goals, 18 assists, 22 points. And Nugent Hopkins, 14 goals, 23 assists, 37 points. I'm not advocating for Dell getting crazy money or anything, but I'm just saying he's been stable this year. He's been good. Maybe you can keep him at a reasonable cap hit rather than having to spend money this summer to get somebody else, because we know Martin Jones at this stage is not a starting goaltender. Koskinen, 913 save percentage for the Oilers with 1 shutout. And Mike Smith, 899 save percentage, also with 1 shutout this season. We'll see how this game turns out tonight. This should be a fun one, as they all should be at this time of year. As playoff hockey has arrived, and we'll see 12 games tonight. Let me know your winners in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Picked up a ton of subscribers yesterday because there was a trade. So that's always what happens. There's a trade, video goes up on the trade, subscribers will show up. So if you're new, welcome to the channel. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.